Happy Monday and welcome to the Monday Market Update. My name is Nash Paradise, Director of Sales at U Mortgage, and you just get me today. Mr. Andrew Cady is traveling, so we're going to go quick. We're going to hit all the news you can use so the deals you don't lose. Maybe? No? Try not taglines. We'll figure it out. Let's talk about what's going on here in the market and this giant chart of nothing. But you know what? We did actually have some stuff happen last week that is very, very relevant. And I was to put a title on today's MMU, it would be "The Hawks Are Circling," because my goodness, we've got a lot of hawks here in the Fed. The sentiment has changed to hawkish. Hawkish meaning we're going to be patient. They're going to be slow to roll. They don't see a need for things to move. And that was basically how you can summarize the many speeches we had last week. In fact, one of the Fed governors, Jefferson, what do you say specifically? I got my notes here. Basically that the market needs to be calm and considerate, and we need to proceed slowly when we're talking about data points. Data points are not going to come out as we want after that government shutdown was long. So there's going to be a lot of rolling, a lot of lag, and a lot of things that may not hit like they normally would. So looking at, last week's stuff, ADP came in a little bit low, but no one seemed to care. Let's talk about the things we do care about, which is what's going on here this week. And kind of opposite of last week. Last week looked empty, but had some interesting stuff. This week looks full, and it's not nearly as interesting as it should be. The big circle on the calendar here is going to be Thursday. Thursday is going to be our first taste at a jobs report since the BLS stopped collecting data, but it's going to be the September report. The consensus conversation right now among analysts and mortgage experts, anyone who tracks this stuff on a regular basis like I do, is how much will the market care? BLS data, the jobs reports, they're usually not very accurate, but they do move the markets pretty significantly because it is the most recent data and information that's available at that time. So how do markets react to September data that is at this point pretty good and old? We're going to have to see. I would agree with a lot of the analysts who say it's still going to matter a good bit. The market could react or overreact to the September data. And my argument for that is we can point to the revision data really moves markets. And that's, months behind when they go back and revise the job reports. If it's significant, if we've missed on, 800,000 jobs like we have before on the revision report, it could move things in a significant way. So, the trends, what we're expecting to see here this week, I feel like it's set up for an interesting approach. All the September data, if it comes in light, I feel like we're going to have a little bit of movement. If it comes in strong, which, is supported by some of the job starts, some of the ADP data, we could just be in this general malaise where no one really feels like moving, and the stuff that is moving isn't so strongly impacted by the things around it. At this point, coming up to the December 10th Fed meeting, we usually see the market start to react and start to move based on what is anticipated. And right now, it's not looking good. So let's talk about where we're going with the Fed right now. This is not what you want to see. Well, it kind of depends on your perspective, but we have officially moved into no cut range. The Fed funds aggregator is stating that based on what's been said, based on the expert analysis, dot plots, etc., We are now 57% likely not to see a rate cut in December. So that opens up the big question: how will markets respond if there's not a cut? Every Fed meeting we've had for the last few, it's been very, very clear. And the analysts and all of the charting, all of our aggregators, we've kind of known what's going to happen. We've had 85, 90, 95% certainty on these last couple drops, and to the same degree, not dropping before that. So what do we do if we're hovering around the middle? It leaves a lot of room for the market to react. Right now, we've moved from just last week, it was a 65% likelihood of rates dropping in December. Now we're 57% in the opposite direction. I think that there's a lot of room for things to move between now and then. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if we have some light jobs data. We see this push up kind of the other way, 60-40 on if there is a drop. And if we get close to that 50-50 mark, if there's enough uncertainty, we could actually see the markets react favorably to a drop after a drop, which is very different than what we've seen in the last couple, which is we knew they were going to drop. That drop was already priced in. 10-year treasury yields had, dropped to a significant amount to basically get in front of that. And it was already priced in the market. So then Fed Chair Powell talks, everything goes the wrong direction, and rates go back up. So we've had this consistency with rates dropping coming into the meeting and then popping back up, dropping going into the meeting, popping back up. Right now, we're holding higher than we were before the last meeting. So that tells me the markets, they just don't know how to respond right now, especially in the 10-year treasury yield. And, we're up a little bit, 412. It's not where we want to be. So if we keep this uncertainty going, we could just hold flat going up to that meeting. And then if we do get a drop, it could be the first drop that we've seen in a couple of years where things have actually followed the Fed and moved in that direction. If we don't see a drop, it does make the January move kind of an all but certainty until Fed Chair Powell comes out and says, far from a foregone conclusion, messes up the market and ruins my day. But we'll have to see when we get there. Let's talk about what this means for mortgage rates. As you can see, a bit of an uptick last week. I feel like it looks more severe on the chart because of where we have been, but honestly, we've been in this same range since, the middle of September. A lot of headlines right now are stating, mortgage rates hit a 2-month high. Yeah, statistically, look at the top of this chart. Look at where we've been and where we are now. We are statistically higher by a very, very small margin. This overnight average 6.38%. It's up, 0.04 since last week. So not a significant movement. We're still hovering and holding down in these low sixes. And honestly, just holding here based on where we've been for the last couple of years is still a really big win for homeownership. I had a conversation this morning with a guy who was arguing for that 50-year loan. And if you were with us last week, you heard Andrew and I kind of sound off on, why the math doesn't support something like that. And, a new argument came out, which was mine, and that the drops that we've seen in the interest rates just over the last 6 months have more significance than adding 20 years to your term. And, we did the math going from 30 to 50 with current interest rates, and with the increase on the interest rates that are anticipated on the 50-year, saves about $130 a month on a $400,000 loan. But the drops that we've seen going from, 6.99 to the 6.38, that was almost $200 a month. There is not a noticeable shift in the number of buyers in the marketplace. I don't know how much better you get as far as data than that. We are not seeing more buyers with more affordability, and more affordability that has been impacted severely in a way that the news has carried it, and everyone knows affordability is better. And it's better by a wider margin than increasing amortization. And yet, we don't see a bunch of buyers flocking to the market because now they finally hit that mark for affordability. So what does this mean? Where do we go from here? It points to we need more. We need more drops. They're going to come slow. We need more positive impact on mortgage rates directly tied to consumer spending. And that's not going to be impacted with amortization. It's going to be impacted with making adjustments to the guarantee fees from the GSEs. It could be impacted by loan level pricing adjusters, these add-ons from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The government does have plenty of control to be able to move things in a way that makes them more affordable within the confines of their structure relationships now that the GSEs have, and the way that mortgage-backed securities are bundled, with the spreads that investors are getting. You can impact none of that and still directly impact affordability. So I know those conversations are going on. It's something to watch going forward. just kind of put it in our back pocket and see what's going on, because the headlines, what we're going to see coming out this week with regards to the jobs reports, unlikely to get a lot of movement, and nothing that's going to move things in a way that's just going to like tank interest rates. It's just not going to happen. The jobs data is not relevant and it's not new enough. We really need relevant new jobs data moving in the wrong direction to point towards that Fed drop. The good thing is markets are not expecting that drop right now. So if we do get that data, we could see a pretty immediate impact coming into the December 10th meeting that could help things in a small way. But those little wins are what we're taking right now. We'll take smooth. We'll take nothing real severe. We'll take the wins and go get another deal. So if you like it, lock it. That's not changing anytime soon. Circle the calendar for Thursday because it's going to be interesting and give us a lot of talking points on how the markets are responding to things. And I'll be back next Monday morning with my co-host, Andrew Cady, and we'll kind of unplug and unpack everything that came in from those jobs reports, how the markets reacted, whether or not I was wrong, and get you a good forecast going for the weeks to come. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day.